Entertainment. Starting from traveling with 6 ex-girlfriends introduction. Traveling through blue stars, Lin Shen only wanted to honestly become a copycat and achieve billions of points in the music and film industry. Who wants to start off as a sinkhole, plagued by scandals and on the brink of leaving the industry, with the only job opportunity being a travel variety show? Good news. The program is quite popular and there is a chance for it to become popular. Bad news. The other 6 guests are all ex-girlfriends. 1. They are all ex-girlfriends. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, where is this? Lin Shen opened his eyes in a daze and saw a pure pale color, thinking that he had arrived in heaven. Deep, you're awake, you're finally awake. A middle-aged woman appeared in front of her, her weathered face tearful with joy, and she began shouting loudly for a doctor. Lin Shen started making a noise in his ear. My head hurts so much. Memories of lust and sound began to flood in wildly. With the sound of various examination instruments, the fusion of memories from 2 lifetimes rapidly enters the fusion phase from the rejection phase, and the headache symptoms are relieved accordingly. Blue star. Bankrupt rich second. Generation. Are you also an artist named Lin Shen? These background information were quickly absorbed by him, especially the caring parents in front of him, which made him quickly accept that he had really crossed from Earth to this parallel world called Blue Star. Before crossing over, Lin Shen was a familiar face in the entertainment industry. Although he excels in singing, dancing, and acting, he is not tall enough and not handsome enough. No matter how the company is packaged, it cannot be promoted. Even at the age of 33, he did not become a big success. At best, he is just a second-tier artist. Lin Shen went from being unwilling when he first entered the industry to gradually accepting it later. With performances, singing, money, and personal space, as long as you can think of it, this state is actually stronger than those top-tier and frontline players who are constantly chased and blocked by fans. However, in this industry where everyone admires high and tramples on low, it is still inevitable to be discouraged. How did I dress up here? Lin Shen recalled yesterday's events and his memory quickly emerged. A while ago, I received a puppet drama where he played the second male lead. Yesterday, I filmed a scene where he was offline. As the number 1 villain, he fought fiercely against the male protagonist who had returned with increased health for 300 rounds, but ultimately lost and was killed with 1 sword. Undoubtedly, it is a highlight. In the early stage, Lin Shen repeatedly pondered the character's behavioral motivations and made sufficient preparations. After filming began, his true identity was suddenly exposed by the male lead, and his transformation from a humble gentleman to a cunning villain was portrayed with great detail, receiving unanimous praise from the entire group. This has angered the male lead who was supposed to be a playwright but acted like a heartless one. Because the limelight was snatched, he turned Lin Shen's hatred into a thorn in his side and deliberately found fault in the following scenes, repeatedly demanding a remake. This scene was originally a one-sided massacre by the male lead against the male lead. Although the protective measures were in place, several pounds of iron tools and props still hurt severely when struck on the body. The director saw it in his eyes, but was also helpless. After all, the ratings of this drama were all based on the popularity and flow of the male lead, and he could only pretend not to see it. Lin Shen could only endure it. In this circle, not being popular is original sin. After this scene, Lin Shen's whole body turned blue, and he had to drive to the hospital by himself in the middle of the night. As a result, he accidentally collided with a large truck, so crossing to the Blue Star is compensation from heaven. Lin Shen didn't want to understand it that way. But after examining in the mirror in the bathroom, I had to accept it with my lips pursed. The striking face, with flying sword eyebrows and peach blossom eyes, a high and sharp nose bridge, looks very much like a star on Earth called Louis Koo. The one from the era of the Condor Heroes. Apart from a handsome character, Lin Shen couldn't think of any other evaluation. The face is already so perfect, but the figure is still handsome and straight, at least 1.85 meters tall, with no more than 6 abdominal muscles. A perfect face, perfect figure. Such a good factory setting, it's so wasteful that it hasn't become a top-tier product. Lin Shen simply hates iron for not turning into steel. But integrating the memories of his predecessor, he understood very well that it couldn't be blamed on the original owner. Born into a wealthy family and incredibly handsome, with such top-notch settings, who could seriously polish their acting skills and study their singing skills. The task given by heaven is to play in the world. Lin Shen also fulfilled his mission quite well. After entering the industry, he was not good at singing, dancing, and acting. With his own strength, he became popular with many popular search terms such as toad voice, staring style acting, wooden handsome guy, and so on. Even so, the heat remains high and comparable to the top stream. Having such a record, of course, is not entirely due to face. Lin Shen's secret weapon, there is no meal in the circle. Ex-girlfriend. Over the years, he has been on the trending list from time to time. Apart from being ridiculed by the group for his acting and singing skills, he has always been associated with new relationships. Lin Shen and the temperament goddess Qin Shiyu returned to their residence and were photographed together. Minjinjin, the goddess of long legs, self-proclaimed that she was Lin Shen's first love. Baoyujies Feilin was once proposed by Lin Shen. Film queen Ye Meng is suspected of suffering from depression and has broken up with Lin Shen. The most beautiful child star Li Qing's first burst of love was actually Lin Shen. After 10 years in the industry, Lin Shen's relationships that were exposed were not many, but the quality was definitely top-notch. The three golden actresses, the goddess of temperament, the top-tier girl group, the new singer queen, and the domineering senior sister are all dominant figures in the entertainment industry. The type that ordinary people dare not even dream of, but Lin Shen changed one after another like changing his pants. Netizens angrily commented. This kid eats really well. Due to these self-generated relationships, even though Lin Shen has not produced a representative work for 10 years, his popularity in the industry has always been high, and he is regarded as a public enemy by men across the country. Perhaps there are too many people to hate, and the retribution has finally arrived. A month ago, my dad's real estate company went bankrupt due to a broken capital chain, and he himself was also exposed for cheating on the new generation of singer Liang Yichuan when he was with Qin Shiyu many years ago. Now, just after breaking up with actress Ye Meng, he turned around and announced his love affair with the sweet little flower Li Qing, which was angrily hammered by the entire internet. The rumors here are still unclear, and he has been seriously injured in a car accident and hospitalized, with his life in danger. Despite such a tragic experience, the entire internet has not even shown any mercy towards him. The millions of highly praised people on hot searches only have 2 words. Retribution. It's also tragic enough. After a month of unconsciousness, Lin Shen, who woke up, fused his memories from 2 lifetimes and decided not to continue his decadence. But faced with the start of bankruptcy and retirement, even though he had both outstanding singing and acting skills and a handsome appearance, he was still stumped. At a difficult moment, Agent Lin Jie came to the hospital with a fruit basket to visit. After a few brief words of care, Lin Jie took out a document, and Lin Shen instinctively thought it was a statement from the company to terminate the contract with him. But when I brought it over, my eyes suddenly widened. Traveling with flowers. Lin Shen was surprised for a while before asking at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, before I got into a car accident, I was exposed to scandals one after another. Didn't the female guests who signed up for this program unilaterally announce their withdrawal? Why hasn't this program team terminated their contract with me yet? Lin Shen's surprise was natural. Before the car accident, he just signed up for this popular variety show on Donglin TV, which is a travel show. Now it has reached its third season. The explosive popularity of the first 2 seasons has made many celebrities want to join in. But because there are 7 seats in each season, and 6 are female stars, only 1 is a male star, the competition for female artists to participate is fierce, and male artists are even more 1 in 100. The production team is also a chicken thief. Although they didn't have any works when watching Lin Shen, he was handsome and highly popular, so they didn't hesitate to choose him. On Lin Shen's side, due to being lazy in acting and singing, he has completely lost his engagement in the past 2 years, so he can only mix and play in the variety show industry. There is no need to hesitate when such an A-level variety show offers an olive branch, and both parties will quickly sign a contract. It was originally a win-win situation for cooperation, but with the scandal of his infidelity exposed, his popularity plummeted. Other female celebrities who had similar conversations were unwilling to get involved with this eternal scumbag and withdrew from the cooperation one after another. Later on, Lin Shen didn't know. I thought that after waking up from a month of coma, the production team had unilaterally terminated the contract, but unexpectedly, the contract invitation was still there. Faced with his question, agent Lin Shen didn't explicitly state it, just asked him to open it and take a look. Lin Shen looked at Lin Shen's smiley expression, always feeling something suspicious. With confusion, he opened the contract and saw, intended guests. Xie Feilin, Ye Meng, Qin Shiyu, Liang Yichuan, Min Jinjin, Li Qing, Lin Shen almost didn't come up in one breath. Good guy, it's all ex-girlfriends. 2. A dangerous situation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. After reading this invitation list, Lin Shen's chin couldn't close completely and his head was covered in question marks. How did the production team gather these people together? They are all on the front line now. How could they be willing to participate in such a variety show that is not considered a top-tier production? Are you so short of money? Shouldn't you be forming a group to pursue me? The more Lin Shen thought about it, the cooler his neck felt. Integrating the memories of the original owner, he admitted that everything he had done before was quite a jerk. Step on 2 boats, step on 3 boats, step on 4 boats, pooh, scumbag. Lin Shen spat at himself and then determined that these women were definitely here to seek revenge. Otherwise, it cannot be explained why they gathered on this program. You should know that the entertainment industry is a place where people pay attention to their positions. In general, there are only 1 or 2 key figures in movies, TV dramas and variety shows, and the rest are supporting role. Perhaps a movie with a master-level director can invite 6 frontline artists at the same time, but this situation should obviously not appear on a variety show. Especially, Flower is just an A-level variety show. Lin Shen pondered and felt that if something goes wrong, there must be demons, and there was no need to take risks. Lin Shen, can I not participate? She chuckled at the moment Lin Shen gave a cold smile with a gloating expression on her face. Why, I'm afraid they might eat you. I'm not afraid of eating, it's not that I haven't been eaten before. What? Lin didn't react immediately. After regaining consciousness, he grabbed the pillow on the nearby hospital bed and smashed it over. Dare it. You just didn't listen to thousands of reminders before that you wouldn't be in a relationship. Now, it's okay, 6 ex-girlfriends are on the show with you. I'll see what you can do. Lin Shen hates iron for not turning into steel. Lin Shen shrank his neck, afraid to show off and continued to follow his heart. Lin Shen. The program hasn't started recording yet, should we still have time to quit now? It's too late. The contract has already been signed, and if you withdraw, you will have to pay a penalty for breach of contract. Then compensate. A penalty of 10 million yuan for breach of contract. It's not a big deal. Small idea. Did you forget that your father just went bankrupt? Your family still owes the bank over 10 billion yuan. Lin Shen paused for a moment. Wipe, I really forgot about this mess. Seeing the back road cut off, Lin Shen's mentality stabilized instead. It's a blessing, not a disaster, it's a disaster that can't be avoided. Isn't it my ex-girlfriend? Can we really eat him? I immediately received the program planning book from Lin Shen and started reading it carefully. The recording time is set for 10 days. During this period, Lin Shen was discharged from the hospital and sent his parents back to their hometown for recuperation. In recent years, I have been spending a lot of money, earning more and spending more. I have a lot of luxury goods at home, but my house only has a small apartment, which is enough for me to live in. After discharge, the main task every day is to exercise and restore physical fitness, and then cooperate with the program team to make some travel arrangements and filming plans. This program is called Travel with Flowers, and the guests are 6 women and 1 man. Just by looking at the name and configuration, it is clear that the only male guest is playing the role of a tour guide. Lin Shen is dutiful and conscientiously communicates with the program team. The day for 7 guests to gather soon arrived. According to the tradition of the first 2 seasons, before the official trip, the tour guide should add the female guests one by one on WeChat, and then create a group to facilitate notification of some matters. But the production team didn't know if they felt embarrassed or if they assumed that Lin Shen would do it themselves until before departure, and didn't even mention it. Lin Shen. It's outrageous. Based on the principle of who goes to hell if I don't go to hell, he chose to initiate a group chat and added the names of those 6 people who had been chatting all night, you and me, to one group. Looking at the 6 familiar avatars on the group homepage, I was filled with emotions. How about changing the group name to Lin Shen Ho Gong Tuan. He couldn't help but think. Although a bit arrogant, I think it's quite appropriate. However, before they could take action, with a swoosh, the first message appeared in the group. Min Jinjin changed the group name to Take It to Death, Scumbag. Subsequently, the group messages vibrated frequently. Sheffield Lin. Like, Liang Yichuan. Like, Ye Meng. Like, cover your mouth and smile, Qin Shiyu. Like, laugh and cry, Li Qing. Like, Min Jinjin. Wit, after a series of whooshes, the group messages finally returned to silence. Lin Shen was simply stunned and decided to pretend not to see. Lin Shen. Location, Lin Shen. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, we will meet here. Please reply upon receipt. The group was quiet for 10 seconds. Lin Shen's eyebrows had just furrowed when a whoosh sound rang out again. Min Jinjin. Let me see which dog is barking, Sheffield Lin. A cunning man, Liang Yichuan. I'll hit your lungs, Ye Meng. Reply, Qin Shiyu. Reply, Li Qing. Reply. Lin Shen. This broken group can't last for a second. Take a deep breath, click on Min Jinjin's profile picture, and switch to the personal chat page. Lin Shen. Dementuan, did you take the wrong medicine and take the lead in squeezing me? The other party replied quickly. Min Jinjin. Oh, you're in a hurry now. Lin Shen. I'm in a hurry. You're still having chicken eyes. Min Jinjin. Yuan %. Asterisk, the two continue to fight against each other as usual. As Lin Shen's first love, Min Jinjin's identity, more accurately, cannot be considered as his ex, but rather as having grown up. Change to a more appropriate word. Childhood sweetheart. The two of them have known each other since they were wearing open crotch pants. Lin Shen was 2 years older, and Min Jinjin had been chasing after him since he was young, shouting all over the neighborhood like an egg-laying hen. When I was a child, I laughed and played around, but as I grew older, I became youthful and lively. Unfortunately, at the age of 2, there is a grade difference in education and we cannot get along day and night. Although Min Jinjin has a capricious personality, he is intelligent and has been a top student since childhood. Jumping one level in elementary school, jumping one level in junior high school, and in high school, the two surprisingly became classmates. Then we began our daily life of flying chickens and dogs, arguing and bickering. As the two most attractive individuals recognized by the whole school, Lin Shen and Min Jinjin pair up every day, and their families are equally matched, so they are naturally considered a pair. Unable to resist the constant commotion from classmates, the two of them got together in a daze during their senior year of high school. Afterwards, we continued to argue and argue every day, and no one allowed anyone. After the college entrance examination, Min Jinjin was arranged by his family to go abroad. Lin Shen's father also had this idea, but he couldn't resist his son's English being so bad that he refused to go to bird country to suffer. In the end, he could only go to an art college in Jingzhou to study musicals as he wished. Faced with the reality of being away from home, the young couple tugged at each other several times, but no one was willing to compromise. Then they parted hands in a confused way. Later, when Min Jinjin returned to China after graduation and wanted to continue his relationship with Lin Shen, he was already a well-known newcomer in the entertainment industry. More importantly, he has already publicly revealed his relationship with the popular actress Sheffield. Min Jinjin was both angry and sad, and from then on, he began to snipe at Lin Shen for 10 years. Whenever and on any occasion, whenever he was mentioned, there would be absolutely no good words. Half of Lin Shen's reputation as a scumbag in the circle comes from her. Of course, Lin Shen always believed that the two of them broke up peacefully at that time, and no one had wronged anyone. Therefore, in the current private conversation, the tone was also not polite. After a mutual confrontation, the two returned to the main topic. Lin Shen, why did you participate in this program and just want to see me so much? Min Jinjin, I want to see you. I want to kick you to death, that's pretty good. Lin Shen, Min Jinjin, not only do I think so, but we all think so. Min Jinjin, it's best for you to wear a pair of iron underwear tomorrow, otherwise, be careful not to have your life exposed by our kicking. Cunning. Lin Shen suddenly felt a chill in his crotch. The words about the door latch can be used as a joke, but the hatred of several ex-girlfriends towards him is real. This half-month journey may not be as easy. Lin Shen suddenly lost his interest in arguing with this woman, put down his phone, and fell into deep thought. We need to find a way to save our lives. 3. Start your performance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, the next morning, at 9:30. Half an hour before the agreed gathering time, Lin Shen arrived early at the lobby of a 5-star hotel in Lincheng. After waiting for less than 10 minutes, the second guest arrived. Ye Meng was wearing jeans and a loose knit sweater. Although dressed in a simple way, her slender figure, along with her charming features, especially her talkative eyes, immediately caught everyone's attention. The youngest 3-gold film queen in today's film industry, a talented actress who unifies the aesthetics of all directors and film critics, even exudes a lively aura in her hair. It's hard not to notice her. Lin Shen's remaining light had already caught a glimpse, but he could only force himself to remain calm and continue scrolling through the phone page. Deep time, long time no see. A gentle voice rang in my ears. Lin Shen lifted his head and met Ye Meng's talking eyes, slowly standing up. Are you? Watching Lin Shen's face full of hesitation, Ye Meng also hesitated for a moment. Don't you know me? I know each other. Lin Shen had a sudden realization on his face. Ye Meng, right. I've seen your movie, and my favorite one is Kite. Your performance is simply amazing. The smile on Ye Meng's face gradually disappeared. Are you joking, Lin Shen? No, I really enjoyed your performance. You dressed too casually today, so I didn't recognize it just now. Ye Meng was speechless, staring blankly at Lin Shen. The talkative gaze made him feel a bit uneasy. I'm really brave to show off my acting skills behind San Jining. Lin Shen thought to himself. Fortunately, he was also a skilled actor known for his acting skills before his time traveling, so he was able to handle this scene. The current expression is natural and flawless. Ye Meng stared at him for a long time without noticing any flaws, and her eyes became confused. At this time, Li Qing, Xia Feilin, and Qin Shiyu arrived one after another. From the moment they appeared, the three of them couldn't help but roll their eyes around Lin Shen, some as fierce as knives, some as dejected, some as worshipful and regretful, but due to face saving, the three of them didn't talk to him and exchanged pleasantries with Ye Meng. After praising each other's attire for today, Sister Sheffield spoke quickly and straightforwardly, "What were you talking about just now?" This was asking Ye Meng, but his eyes were fixed on Lin Shen. Lin Shen suddenly scratched his toes and became even more flustered. "I didn't talk much," he seems to have lost his memory. Ye Meng spoke in a skeptical tone. "Oh." Sheffield frowned and raised her expression, teasing her. With a strong attack, she took 2 steps closer to Lin Shen and said, "I have lost my memory." Lin Shen almost knelt on the ground. In front of Ye Meng, he could still show off his acting skills, but in front of Xia Feilin, he was completely focused on his composure and aura. This actress, known for her bright and elegant demeanor in the industry, is recognized as the red carpet champion in China. She can hold various types of dresses steadily and is the darling of major luxury brands both domestically and internationally. In terms of film and television awards, she may not be as good as Ye Meng. But in terms of fashion influence, the other 5 people combined are not her opponents. Being able to achieve this result is not only due to her highly aggressive and beautiful appearance, but also her unique domineering aura in the entertainment industry. With such a queenly demeanor, who can resist looking at her? Lin Shen is no exception. Although the two had a period of time, let's put it this way. That night, it wasn't Sheffield who shouted the loudest. In front of her, Lin Shen could only be his younger brother. So, in the face of a simple gaze from Sheffield, he managed to barely hold on with the strength of defecation. Can be followed closely. Pop. Sheffield's handbag was pulled directly towards his shoulder. The sudden movement startled the other sisters. Playing with amnesia, right? You're used to it. I saw that you had a car accident, and your acting skills have improved. As Sheffield scolded, she threw hundreds of thousands of crocodile leather limited edition handbags onto Lin Shen, causing him to run around aimlessly. The cameramen around were all confused. I thought the scene would be very exciting today, but I never thought it would be so exciting. Just start working as soon as you come up. I thought you had to persevere for at least an hour. Quickly adjust the position and capture the expressions of the two in all directions. Lin Shen was able to escape from Xingtian after being hit more than 10 times in a row, panting until his face turned red. I said, "Sister, this is a travel variety show, isn't it a martial arts program?" Lin Shen pressed his shoulder and said, looking very helpless. Sheffield's eyelids twitched slightly and she said, "Who's your name, big sister?" Lin Shen quickly apologized and said, "Teacher Xia, can we have something to say? Well, did I ever offend you before? You killed me as soon as we met. Are you still acting? What did I play?" Lin Shen's innocent and aggrieved expression stunned the director Chen Song outside the camera. He's really losing his memory. When did it happen? How come I don't know? At this moment, Chen Song had 10,000 question marks in his heart, and in a moment, he felt regretful. If Lin Shen had really lost his memory, then at least half of the highlights of these 6 ex-girlfriends beating up scumbag ex-men would have been reduced. You can think about it again. The point of amnesia, unexpected and dramatic, whether true or false, is much more interesting than a simple ex-girlfriend beating. Outside the camera, Chen Song smiled uncontrollably as if picking up a treasure. Lobby, Sheffield is launching a second wave of attacks again. Qin Shiyu quickly stopped and said, Fei Jia, it doesn't seem like he's pretending to be. After all, his acting skills are so poor. If he were pretending to have amnesia, he wouldn't be able to act like this. Speaking, he gave him a very lonely glance. Lin Shen almost burst into tears. Firstly, thank you, Shiyu, for speaking for me. Secondly, Shiyu, are you still temporarily speechless? Xia Feilin listened to Qin Shiyu's words, restrained her anger, and her eyes became skeptical. The four beautiful and irresistible faces were all looking at him with a skeptical expression at the moment. At this moment, Min Zhenjin and Liang Yichuan appeared together. After listening to a few people's descriptions, Min Zhenjin laughed on the spot and said, memory loss, right. When Lin Shen was young, the suitcase you brought was not big, but it could quite fit you. Lin Shen said. Min Zhenjin, with a proud expression on his face, grabbed his small braid and took out his phone, displaying their chat records from last night. After spinning around, he returned to him. Is this you who is chatting with me? She asked proudly. It's me. Didn't you lose your memory? How could you still chat with me so much? Dozens of pairs of eyes looked at him in unison. Zhaoshuyuan.com Lin Shen looked innocent and calm, who has amnesia. What are you talking about? And the door latch, are you crazy? We've known each other since we were wearing open pants. What's the problem with me talking to you about this? Min Zhenjin originally had a proud expression on her face, but upon hearing these words, she was immediately stunned. Quickly rummaged through last night's chat records, looking disappointed. From my ex-boyfriend's perspective, these conversations were a bit tricky, but from a young perspective, this conversation is quite ordinary. It's no different from their hundreds of conversations over the years. The other sisters were also disappointed at the same time. Looking at Lin Shen's confused eyes, they couldn't help but wonder. Did he really lose his memory? At a loss, Sister Sheffield spoke up, let him go. This program will be recorded for a total of 18 days, and we spend time together day and night. If he really pretends to have amnesia, I don't believe he won't reveal it. Sheffield Lin showed a cold smile of disdain from the king. Lin Shen's neck was cold when he was seen. The other few people listened to Sheffield's words and all pursed their mouths, laughing and swaying in the lobby. This topic has finally been exposed. A few people gathered together again to talk. Their intimate appearance made Lin Shen wonder if they had already formed a small group, studying how to torture him every day. Otherwise, why do they look so familiar? As far as I know, I am the only intersection in their life trajectory. The more Lin Shen thinks about it, the more he thinks about it. I suddenly felt fortunate. Fortunately, I had to dress up and lose my memory today to temporarily avoid the disaster. Otherwise, I would have had to have my skin peeled off on the spot by these women. As for the days to come. By chance, live one more day and earn one more day. 4. The Queen's Inspection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. Sheffield Lin's unexpected move contributed to the opening of the first episode and made the director's mouth roll with joy outside the camera. Several goddesses chatted for a while, and the initial gathering of guests was successfully achieved. The director started introducing the itinerary outside the picture. Ladies and gentlemen, our travel time this time is a total of 10 days, with 3 city stations. We will complete the recording in 3 parts, which happens to be in January. 7 guests drove the entire journey by themselves, and the program team provided everyone with equipment including a 5-seater SUV and a medium-sized RV, all equipped with corresponding facilities. Reminder to all guests, the journey of Flower is a full self-service experience, and the program team will prepare travel funds for everyone. Each person will receive 1,000 yuan per day, distributed by station. The travel funds are at the guest's own expense, covering all expenses of the journey. During the 10-day itinerary, guests have 2 opportunities to apply for additional funding. Director Chen Song also introduced some other precautions. As he continued to speak, the guests had different expressions. Lin Shen is really a variety show enthusiast. Because of her delicate and seductive appearance and quirky personality, she is very open-minded in variety shows, and her popularity is basically unmatched by female celebrities. As an artist from the Hong Kong community, Liang Yichuan exudes a sense of relaxation and professionalism, and he always cooperates throughout the entire process. Except for the 2 people who continued to make moans and drinks in their mouths, the other 5 were generally quiet. After announcing the rules, the director directly dispersed the funds for the first stop. Each site was allocated a total of 21,000 yuan for 7 guests for 3 days of play, calculated based on a 3-day duration. 2 thick stacks of red tickets were handed over to tour guide Lin Shen. Lin Shen was holding his tail in front of his ex-girlfriends and finally showed a knowing smile when he saw the ticket. However, before the money could cover up the heat, the director began to pick things up. Leave this money to you, and the production team will be fully entrusted with it. You can use it as a group or each person can manage their own funds. As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions on the faces of the sisters became calm. Before the director suggested this, everyone assumed that all the money should be kept with the tour guide. Although they were not very willing. But since there are other options, we need to carefully consider them. Min Jinjin raised his hand first and said, I suggest that each of us manage our own money. Otherwise, if we put such a large amount of money in the hands of Lin Go, he will secretly spend it without our knowledge. Ye Meng smiled and said, that's not enough. With so many of us together, every expense is publicly disclosed. It's impossible for him to keep it private. Qin Shiyu nodded in agreement. Min Jinjin failed to seize power and turned his head to glare at Lin Shen. Lin Shen shrugged his shoulders. At this moment, Sheffield spoke up, I also don't agree with the unified custody of money. It's better for each to manage their own business. The elder sister's majestic aura was displayed there, and as soon as she spoke, everyone else obediently listened to her continue. Sheffield smiled and said, traveling definitely involves accommodation issues. We don't have a lot of funds, so we definitely need to save some money. We can save half of the accommodation expenses by having 6 girls live in pairs. He is a male animal and lives in his own room, which costs twice as much as us. If we use this money together, wouldn't it be equivalent to us paying him to sleep from our own funds? After this analysis, the other girls suddenly became enlightened. Liang Yichuan, however, lost his mind and thought to himself, we haven't asked him to sleep before. Min Jinjin quickly agreed, that's right, it was Fei Jia who considered everything carefully and immediately discovered the bug. Ye Meng said helplessly, it seems like. That's the truth. Also, as a big man, he definitely has more appetite than us. If he eats 3 meals a day, he will have to eat us a lot of money, Xia Feilin said, that's it. Min Jinjin nodded like pounding garlic. We absolutely can't let Lin Go take advantage of us. Yes. Liang Yichuan nodded seriously, we must never let him take advantage of us again. Several people quickly unified their opinions. Even Qin Shiyu and Li Qin, who had been silent all along, realized the seriousness of the matter and finally nodded silently. Beside him, Lin Shen didn't even have the opportunity to interject, just watching helplessly as his financial power was quickly regained, even taking away his own 3,000. Qin Shiyu couldn't bear it anymore and said in a gentle voice, give him his share back. Lin Shen followed the voice and looked over, just as she also looked over. Her eyes met, and Qin Shiyu's face was a bit flustered. She quickly avoided her gaze. Lin Shen's heart suddenly softened to a pulp. Looking back on the years when they were together with Shiyu, they lived together in his villa, and the 600 square meter house was filled with traces of their happiness. This is an experience he has never had on Earth before. Lin Shen has fused the memories of 2 lifetimes, and he is both a spectator and a first-hand witness to this relationship. This feeling is wonderful. How to put it, there is a feeling of action film artists appreciating their own works. At this moment, Lin Shen thought to himself, if he had to choose a composite among these few, he would definitely choose Shiyu. Although the sisters carried resentment, they did not completely ignore the program rules and returned 3,000 yuan to Lin Shen. So, the group, which was supposed to be 7 people, was divided into 2 major camps before it even set off. On one side is a group of slender and beautiful sisters, while on the other side is a group of lonely scumbags. The contrast should not be too obvious. The director looked at the scene's art style, and the soul of variety shows was filled with passion. He had already figured out how to create the post-production effect. The sisters were paired with warm colors, and the scene in the camera was their hip-hop and playful play. Lin Shen's scene was graying out, with a few withered leaves floating and accompanied by an air tune. Absolutely. The separation is over, and the flower troupe officially sets off. Based on the previous struggle to seize financial power, the 6 sisters planned to ride the same car and let Lin Shen's aero painting style be implemented to the end. However, the 2 cars prepared by the production team, one only has 5 seats, and the other can accommodate 6 people. However, since it is a motorhome, there are only 4 seats at most, and no matter how many people there are, they can only lie down. The location of the first stop is only half an hour's drive from the departure point, so there is no need to lie down. The sisters gathered together and decided to take a 5-seater seat, sending one person to ride with Lin Shen. Lin Shen's eyes lit up when he heard this decision nearby. How could there be a feeling of an emperor flipping through signs, or a new gameplay of opening blind boxes? But soon, he couldn't be happy anymore. Sister Ye Meng volunteered to participate in the battle and walked towards him with a cold smile from the queen, who was not easy to provoke. Get in the car, medical miracle. Sheffield smiled arrogantly and seductively. Lin Shen swallowed his saliva. Faced with the indifference on the director's face, he dawdled and got into the car. The journey officially begins. The SUV in front was laughing and laughing all the way, while the RV behind was like a stagnant pool. When Lin Shen was driving, he appeared calm on the surface but felt flustered in the heart. Ye Meng sat firmly in the passenger seat, silent, and the car was quiet. Lin Shen's heart became increasingly uneasy. He knew that Sheffield had voluntarily requested to ride in the same car as him, not to relive old dreams with him, but to verify the truth of his amnesia up close. But now, without saying this sentence, he is becoming more and more guilty, not knowing what kind of trick this beautiful snake is holding back. While driving the car, he secretly glanced at the passenger seat with the remaining light. I saw Sheffield holding onto the car window with one hand, looking out of the window at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Her eyes were a bit less domineering, but more gentle. As the car drove onto the elevated road, she opened the car window and her smooth black straight hair instantly floated, with a faint fragrance of roses wafting through Lin Shen's nose. He couldn't help but take a deep breath. It smells so good. The restless and intense fragrance in my memory. When they were dating, Lin Shen was just in his junior year. When I first entered the entertainment industry, I was just a silly, cute, and wealthy second generation who didn't understand anything. With an overly handsome appearance, I easily became a second son in a modern drama. On the first day of filming, I couldn't stand the man using the excuse of filming to go up and down with Sheffield, so I directly poured a bucket of prop paint on him. As a result, a scene was fired by the crew without being filmed, and the only thing taken away was Sheffield's phone number. The rest of the matter was initiated by Sister Faye. Invite him to dinner, chat with him, take him into the group, call him in the middle of the night to say that there are mice in the room, call him to go over and catch them all night, shout until his throat is cracked. The two of them have been together for more than half a year, and Lin Shen's memories are full of the fragrance of roses. Roses are the only flower that Sheffield likes, just like her people, rich, passionate, enchanting, but with thorns. Such a woman, as long as she is willing, no man can escape. Lin Shen is no exception. Even though separated for nearly 10 years, now smelling the familiar rose fragrance, he still couldn't help but sway his heart in an instant. I completely forgot that I am currently in a high-risk state where lies can be exposed at any time. I'm losing my mind. Next to her, Sheffield looked away at some point. Glancing up and down at him, he suddenly laughed. Lin Shen, you're hard. 5. Do you have 3 people? You are listening at novel full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. Upon hearing Sheffield's words, Lin Shen's mind suddenly went blank. What kind of words are these? Subconsciously glanced at GoPro in the left front. This motion camera will record his every word and action throughout the entire process. Of course, Sheffield's words were also recorded on her side of the camera. But he is not worried. The production team is not so bold, they dare to cut this kind of dialogue into the main film. Fei, what are you saying? Pretended not to understand at the moment. Xie Feilin lazily smiled and said, Lin Shen, your wings are hard now. Upon hearing these words, he breathed a sigh of relief. So she was talking about wings. But he doesn't have this thing, she does have several pairs. Why did Sister Fei say this? Lin Shen replied in a joking tone, with a calm mindset now. Still pretending, right? It's been a few years since I last saw you. Your acting skills have improved. Not only did you perform Amnesia without any flaws, but you also acted foolishly and excelled at it. Sheffield's tone was both joking and teasing, her eyes seemingly scattered, but her powerful aura made people feel uneasy. Fortunately, Lin Shen has confidence in his acting skills. He chuckled lightly without answering. Why don't you speak? She asked. What did I say? Lin Shen looked ahead calmly and said, since you think I'm pretending to have amnesia, no matter how I explain it, you won't believe me. It's better not to speak. Xie Feilin was stunned for a moment and chuckled lightly, I didn't believe it just now. However, if I have the chance to explain it to you now, maybe I will believe it. Lin Shen also smiled. Forget it, I don't even know that I have amnesia. What else are you explaining? Oh, you see, isn't this a contradiction between before and after? Where is the contradiction? Pretending to have amnesia and true amnesia, there's always one that's true, right? You don't recognize either, isn't that contradictory? Sheffield tilted her eyes, her face smug as she grabbed his little braid. Lin Shen smiled and said, according to Sister Fei's logic, when you ask a dead person, are you alive or dead? Can he also open his mouth and tell you, I am a dead person? Sheffield frowned and was very unhappy with the hidden sarcasm in his tone, but she listened in. It seems quite reasonable. I lowered my head and pondered for a moment. According to your instructions, it has been 10 days since you woke up from a car accident. Have you not realized that you have lost any memory during these 10 days? Sheffield asked skeptically. Lin Shen smiled proudly and asked instead, Fei Jia, how do you know that I woke up exactly 10 days ago? Sheffield Lin was asked for a moment. I never expected that this guy would not play cards according to common sense. Fortunately, in these years of wandering in the entertainment industry, I have developed the ability to see ghosts, snakes, and gods without blushing or jumping in the heart. Currently, I just smile calmly. The production team said it. Oh. I thought Sister Fei was specifically following me. Lin Shen said meaningfully. Paying attention is indeed paying attention. As a qualified ex, who wouldn't expect her ex-boyfriend to die early and have a better life? Of course, she should pay attention. Sheffield smiled lightly. Lin Shen choked and almost swallowed his tongue on the spot. Seeing the war situation overturned, quickly stabilize. Fei Jie, do you mean? We've been together. He had a frightened expression on his face. Playing amnesia requires constantly remembering one's character and not being easily drawn a trump card. Sheffield's eyebrows furrowed slightly. Just now, I intentionally shifted the topic to their ex-relationship, and the main surprise was to test their reaction. If there is no response or if the response is too exaggerated, it is definitely pretending. But now, his attention has not been taken away by early death, early rebirth, but has fallen on the fact that his ex is just right, surprised not much. Sheffield suddenly lost her confidence. Is it possible that this guy has really lost his memory? She fell silent for a moment, and the atmosphere was somewhat eerie. Having been together, you are my first publicly available boyfriend. Lin Shen didn't answer, with an incredulous expression on his face, while also carrying a hint of joy from someone in Lin, Ye Meng. The timing of the performance was just right. Sheffield looked increasingly lost in thought, frowning with displeasure and waving her hand impatiently. It's all over. Lin Shen was overjoyed and stopped speaking, but still had the shock, doubt, and pride of suddenly appearing as a goddess-level ex-girlfriend on his face. Sheffield stared directly at him. Originally, it was 100% certain that his amnesia was definitely portrayed. But now I can't help but believe 3 points. I especially feel that the logic holds water. As the second of his ex-girlfriends, if I forget about my relationship with her, then it would be reasonable for Qin Shiyu, Ye Meng, Liang Yichuan, and Li Qin to forget about it later on. As for Min Jinjin, it was his childhood and first love, and it's normal to remember. If we forget her too, it's not amnesia, but a complete intellectual disability. Sheffield's attitude wavered. I'm not sure, let's take a look. On the following journey, Queen Xie stared out the window in a daze, which made Lin Shen secretly breathe a sigh of relief and easily arrived at the destination. The first stop of the trip is a 4-line small town called Dongchuan, located in the continuous hills of central China, surrounded by mountains and rivers, with an ancient and pleasant scenery. When the flower group arrived, it was already close to noon. 2 cars headed straight for the residence. Before departure, as a tour guide, Lin Shen had already booked a 4-star hotel online, located in the central area of the city, and the price was also reasonable. But as he got off the highway, he watched helplessly as the SUVs ahead bypassed the main city. At first, he thought they had misunderstood the route, but it wasn't until the ancient city scenic area appeared in front of him that he realized. The first 5 people directly changed their route. Finally, 2 cars stopped at the entrance of a high-end inn in the ancient city. After getting off the bus, Min Jinjin and some sisters were about to rush into the inn. Lin Shen stopped them and asked, "Is this inn cheap? Are you sure you want to stay here?" Min Jinjin looked proud and said, "It's not cheap. You can find a standard room 688 at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com for 1 night. But when traveling, of course, you need to live well. If you don't rest well, how can you have the energy to play?" Liang Yichuan and Xie Feilin nodded in approval. Lin Shen is speechless. Min Jinjin smiled cunningly and said, "Although the room fee is not cheap, we can share it equally for less than 400 yuan. It's not a big deal. As for you, living alone is a bit expensive, but you have just recovered from your serious illness and working as a tour guide is so hard, you need to rest well." Speaking provocatively, he gave him a glance. Lin Shen smiled calmly, watching this girl grow up from a young age and knowing her little bit of ghosts and spirits. Staying here for 1 night, he only had over 300 yuan left in his budget that day, which was just enough to eat. How else can he play? This dead girl clearly wants to see him embarrass. However, despite their years of intense confrontation, Lin Shen has never fallen behind. Can he still be afraid of her? With a light smile, he led the way into the inn. When checking in at the front desk, he asked, "Boss, do you have a single room?" At this point, the boss has already been negotiated by the production team, and although he is feeling nervous, he is still calm overall. According to the innkeeper's wishes, with so many celebrities staying in the hotel at the same time, even if it was free, he was willing to do so. The program can be recorded, with a focus on authenticity. The negotiation just now was to ensure the normal operation of the store. So when faced with Lin Shen's question, he could only answer truthfully, "Sorry, there are no single rooms, only a king bedroom." Is the price of a king-size room the same as the standard room? That's right. Is there a triple room? As soon as these words were asked, the boss was clearly taken aback, and the female guests and staff all looked bewildered. 3. 3 worlds. 6. The temptation from a king-sized room. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. Faced with the shock of a group of people, Lin Shen remained calm and his heart skipped a beat. Yes, 3 people, he nodded in affirmation. The boss looked at a circle of female celebrities with different expressions, already nervous, but now he's even more nervous. Yes. Yes. How much is it? It's 100 yuan more expensive than a double room. Oh, that's quite a good deal. Lin Shen raised his eyebrows, with an expression that made it difficult to understand what he was thinking. Sheffield frowned. Based on her understanding of him, this guy definitely didn't hold his breath. The first time she saw him show this expression that night, she received a set of lace hollowed-out nurse pajamas. The past is unforgettable, and Xia Feilin quickly stopped. Faced with Lin Shen's crooked heart, she planned to directly take action to suppress it. However, before he could speak, Lin Shen suddenly turned around and said to Min Zhenzhen, "Do you dare to gamble on the door latch?" Min Zhen was completely stunned and forgot to scold him. "What are you gambling on?" "Bet a chance to enjoy a king-sized room alone." Lin Shen continued to seduce, "Let's set a gambling game and bet on a king bedroom." "I won. You offered me 688 yuan to stay for one night, and you discussed with them to open a 3-bedroom apartment. 6 people living in 2 3-bedrooms is just enough. If you want something beautiful, I'll treat you to a big bedroom and have a dream." Min Zhenzhen regained consciousness and almost spat on his face. Lin Shen remained calm and said, "Listen to me finish. If you win, I'll give you 688 yuan and you'll enjoy the king bedroom alone. How about that?" Min Zhen hesitated for a moment and immediately stopped talking. When Lin Shen saw her expression, he knew he had firmly grasped her again. This girl is the only child in the family, and she grew up being a spoiled child. How could she be willing to share a room with someone else? On the way, she took the lead in changing to this high-end homestay. Although she deliberately played tricks on Lin Shen, the main reason was that the young lady had a seizure and could not accept the ordinary hotel she had previously booked. Now, there is an opportunity to enjoy a big bed alone, how could the little fairy not be tempted? However, now that this product can firmly occupy the top position in variety shows, she naturally has a lot of ulterior motives and was not immediately led by Lin Shen. "I lost, I can live with my sisters in a 3-person room." "Did you lose?" "Housing car." "Of course, sisters don't mind, I can also make do with 3 people for one night." Lin Shen spread his hands together, with an expression of reluctance. As soon as these words were spoken, the saliva of 6 people almost converged into a torrent, pouring directly onto his face. "Ah bah, you're looking for something beautiful." Min Zhenzhen, as the representative, spat and didn't dare to make a quick decision on his own. He turned to seek opinions from a few people. Most people have a nonchalant attitude, except for Sister Sheffield, whose fox eyes sparkle with cunning and sneer, "Bet with him, who's afraid of who?" As soon as the eldest sister spoke, the momentum of the sisters was immediately raised, and Min Jinjin also strengthened her confidence. Both men and women engaged in a fierce battle, and finally decided on the competition project. The challenge without blinking an eye. The reason for choosing this project is very simple. One is that it can be executed immediately, and the other is that the outcome is also easy to judge. Of course, there is also the most important reason. Min Jinjin comes from a girls' group background, has been training for many years, and can withstand the high-frequency flash of the media without blinking an eye. For her, this challenge is simply a steady win and easy win. Min Jinjin proudly rolled up her sleeves. Lin Shen had a calm expression on his face. He knows that if he challenges seriously, he will lose. But since he dares to make this bet, he is certain that the other party is a young man who has known her for more than 20 years. No matter what comparison he makes with her, he is confident in winning. Min Jinjin is the winning ticket. Both sides are on high alert. Outside the crowd, director Chen Song's mouth was crooked with a smile. The program was only recorded for less than an hour at the beginning, and the highlights kept coming in waves. First, during the gathering, Sheffield Lin beat Lin Shen violently, and now he's setting up a gambling game to grab a room. Chen Song originally invited Min Jinjin to save the scene because he saw her strengths in various variety shows, such as being open-minded, quick-witted, and having a good rhythm. However, now he has no idea that Lin Shen, the scumbag who was almost abandoned by him before recording, is actually the source of creating various surprises. At first, Chen Song was worried that the game of adding one ex-boyfriend to these 6 ex-girlfriends might end up going from a cold scene in the first episode to a Shura scene in the last episode. Now, he is completely at ease. Whether it was true amnesia or pretending amnesia, Lin Shen, from the situation on site, this guy in front of a group of ex-girlfriends did not consider himself the wrong person at all. The atmosphere on site was just right between the cold and explosive. Simple preparation, the gambling game officially begins. Sheffield Lin became the referee and shouted, "Prepare, start." The words fell to the ground, and the two stood face to face, their eyes widened 4 times. Min Jinjin had a smug smile on his face. However, the next second, Lin Shen on the other side suddenly pulled his mouth, which made her feel a little nervous. The two grew up naked together, and she knew this guy too well. Every time he showed such a smile, he definitely didn't hold his breath. As expected, the next second, Lin Shen suddenly extended his fist and shook it in front of her. She blinked uncontrollably. "You lost," Lin Shen proudly announced. Min Jinjin was so angry that he shouted, "It doesn't count, you're planning a surprise attack." Lin Shen spread his hands and said, "Didn't you say that my body can't move? I can't even raise my hand." Min Jinjin was so angry that he jumped and asked the referee for help. Sheffield Lin still had the cold and proud face of a queen. She took 2 steps closer to Lin Shen and suddenly raised her fist. When the forest was deep, the conditioned reflex shrank back. "What a coward." Sheffield smiled and said, "This game doesn't count, come back." Lin Shen still wanted to argue, but in response to the queen's gaze, he swallowed his saliva. The gambling game has restarted. The second round proceeded normally, and after 20 seconds, Lin Shen felt a bit overwhelmed, but the opposite side remained calm and without any pressure. He knows he can't come up with any tricks, he's definitely going to lose. Immediately grit your teeth, keep your eyes open, and your mouth bulge with anger. Both cheeks immediately swelled up like Mantu, and with his round open eyes, he was like a squirrel. Across from him, Min Jinjin was originally on guard. Seeing that he hadn't moved for so long, I thought he was really serious this time. I didn't expect him to suddenly come like this. Immediately, out of control, he burst out laughing, his eyes out of control, and he blinked. "Huh, you lost this time," Lin Shen proudly said, "Quickly blink and relax." Min Jinjin was not convinced again and said, "No, this time it doesn't count either. You cheated." Saying that my body is not allowed to move, and I haven't moved, is it a trick? The door latch, you can't afford to lose. Lin Shen defended. You. Min Zhen is usually sharp-tongued, but now she has been scolded so much that she can't speak. At this point, Sheffield once again took charge of the overall situation. No, come back. Min Zhen was so excited that she rushed over and hugged her, affectionately shouting, Fei Jie is the most fair, Lin go. If you have the ability, you can fight with Fei Jie. Lin Shen met Xie Feilin's cold and arrogant gaze, and shrunk his neck, expressing his reluctance. The third round begins. This time, Sheffield emphasized that except for her eyeballs, she couldn't move anywhere. Lin Shen made a mistake. In fact, he can even make a funny face with just a few eye movements, but after just 2 rounds, Min Zhen must be prepared now, and this move is probably not very effective. Faced with Min Zhen's triumphant gaze of a clear victory, he stabilized his mind and brute emotions. Decided to use a killing move. The third battle has begun. This time, Lin Shen no longer had the same playful smiles and strange moves as in the previous 2 times. Instead, he faced Min Zhen's proud gaze, his face deep and his eyes like autumn water. At first, everyone thought that this product was finally going to be seriously compared. Slowly, everyone realized something was wrong. The gaze of this guy is not just open for no reason, but with a strong emotion. There is sadness, regret, sorrow, and endless deep affection. The 5 female guests watching, except for Liang Yichuan, who is a singer, the other 4 are all actors and have a natural keen perception of human emotions. At first, everyone was not sure. But as the competition reached the second 10 seconds, Lin Shen's emotions in his eyes became increasingly intense, and everyone became very firm. The deep emotions and sadness in his eyes were definitely strong. Sheffield first realized that this was Lin Shen's strategy. But the first 2 times it can be said that he cheated, this time it's really not good. He really didn't move anywhere. She can only remain silent. At the same time, as she looked at Lin Shen from the side, she couldn't help but think to herself. This guy's acting is so terrible, it's impossible to have such a brilliant eye contact. Does he really have lingering feelings for Min Zhen? Thinking about it this way, I felt an inexplicable sense of sourness in my heart when searching for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Whether it's first love or unforgettable. Sheffield became increasingly unhappy as she thought about it. And beside them, the duel between the 2 became increasingly anxious. Although Min Zhen rarely acted, as the projection point of Lin Shen's eye skills, she fully accepted the strong emotions, and the impact was not only comparable to an atomic bomb, but also comparable to Gatling. Of course, as the person who knew Lin Shen the most on sight, her rationality accurately judged that this was a performance. Min Zhen can generally remain calm. But soon, she couldn't calm down. Across from Lin Shen, a tear slipped from his left eye. These tears are not caused by prolonged eye dryness, but a natural expression with strong emotions. Min Zhen's heart suddenly shrank. No matter how much they usually confront each other, Lin Shen has always been proud and unwilling to give in. Even during their 6-month relationship, he never let her down and made her cry repeatedly. How have you ever seen him shed tears after all these years? Min Zhen's heart suddenly softened and his mind was in a mess. He couldn't remember any games or big bedrooms. Subconsciously, he reached out to touch his face, his eyes blinking naturally. The door latch, you lost. Lin Shen changed his face in 1 second. Jumping and shouting proudly on the spot. Min Zhen froze in place and reacted, feeling so angry and furious. She didn't care about the focus of more than a dozen machines on the scene. She picked up the jade Pichot placed at the front desk, chased after Lin Shen and ran around the hall, shouting with murderous intent. Lin Shen. Hurry up. Give it to me. Go to hell. 7. I choose Ye Meng. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. With the intervention of the production team, Lin Shen put down the weapon Upixiu and admitted to the defeat. Lin Shen wasted his time in a high-end king-sized room, afraid to make any more fuss, but his mouth grinned behind his ear and reached out to ask for the room card from the wronged big head. Lin Shen is really lucky to be on the spot and could soar at any time. Just as she was about to admit defeat, Sheffield stood in front of her and smiled meaningfully across from her. Lin Shen instinctively took 2 steps back. What? I didn't violate the rules this time, won openly. Did I say you won the despicable and shameless? Lin Shen always felt like he had been scolded again and didn't dare to retaliate, so he could only swallow his saliva. What does Sister Fei mean by blocking me? You really won, but it's not yet time to get your room card, Sheffield sneered coldly, folding her hands on her chest, making the pair of sharp weapons even more plump. Lin Shen swallowed 2 mouthfuls of water. What does it mean? In a game, there's no one set that determines the winner. Of course, we have to win 2 out of 3 sets. What? For the next 2 games, let Ye Meng and Li Qing play with you, the rules are the same. Ah. This is a gambling game between me and the main gate bolt, what's the relationship with them? Lin Shen tried to argue, but his words didn't have much confidence. Sheffield smiled and said, we really lost. We all have to sleep with the trio. Do you think it's okay? Lin Shen said, It makes sense and cannot be refuted. He looked at Ye Meng and Li Qing who were suddenly summoned, both of whom had a confused expression. Although they were 6 years younger, their confused eyes were the same, like 2 soft and cute rabbits. I really want to give it a try. Lin Shen will not be deceived by the appearance of these 2 people. He can immediately understand the reason why Sheffield sent them to battle. Ye Meng, the youngest 3 golden actress in the entertainment industry. Li Qing, a 5-year-old child star who debuted, has appeared in more than 30 works, including many profound and complex roles, and is highly anticipated by major directors. 2 acting styles harder than steel plates. Lin Shen dared to show off his skills in front of the acting novice Lin Shen, and with just over 20 seconds of false affection, he messed up her mind and won the gambling game. Facing Ye Meng and Li Qing, I can only be beaten. Of course, Sheffield didn't know that Lin Shen in front of her had a soul piercing through the earth, with over a decade of acting experience. But when Lin Shen asked himself, his acting skills, which he had achieved through polishing and accumulation, were completely scumbags in front of 2 talented actors. Effort in the face of talent is not worth mentioning. Lin Shen surrendered without any illusions and said, Sister Fei, I admit defeat, I admit defeat. Don't, it's like we're bullying you. No, I am willing to give up. Not forced. No force, no force. That's fine. Pay for the king's room. Sheffield Lin put down these words, and a group of people immediately cheered and jumped up. The atmosphere was even happier than the Chinese New Year. By comparison, Lin Shen's side was simply miserable. I paid 688 yuan for a night's room fee, but I could only pick up the suitcase that I had just moved out of the car and walk outside. What a self-inflicted sin, unable to live. Lin Shen's sadness did not elicit any sympathy, and his ex-girlfriends did not give him a single glance. As a person who turned the tide, Sheffield was unanimously recommended to stay in the king's room, and the queen did not hesitate to move in. The rest, Qin Shiyu and Ye Meng live in a double room, while the 3 smaller ones live in a triple room. After tidying up the room, it's already noon. Everyone discussed lunch at noon. Little cute Li Qing wanted to eat the local famous sour soup rice noodles and spicy vinegar fish. The sisters hit it off, and everyone rushed out in excitement. When they got to the door, they notified Lin Shen. At this moment, Lin Shen did not feel ignored at all. After just lifting a stone and smashing his own foot, he has officially confirmed that the theme of this journey is to be a human with an X.bar. Find X equals. Gracefully following, I followed my sisters to a restaurant decorated in an antique style, which is said to have high online reviews. Sisters were all attracted by the delicious food, wanting to eat some and some, but their attention was completely not focused on Lin Shen. Only when ordering clearly exceeded the serving capacity of 7 people did Min Jinjin say, "It's okay to order more. Anyway, since we save money on accommodation, can't we order 2 more dishes?" Upon hearing these words, everyone looked at Lin Shen very tacitly and then laughed at him at the same time. Lin Shen raised his eyebrows and smiled. It's all a small scene. The result of ordering too many signature dishes was that he, the only male, had a very peaceful and satisfied meal. After dinner, the director announced that the afternoon was free time for everyone to visit the ancient city freely. But there is one requirement. At least 2 people should work together and cannot act alone. Everyone didn't take this rule seriously and started chatting and discussing it. Ye Meng suggested that everyone take action together, making it more lively with more people. Liang Yichuan said that everyone likes different things, so it's better to walk together with people who share the same interests to save time. Finally, Liang Yichuan's plan was unanimously approved, and several people began to chatter and divide into teams. During a lively discussion, the little girl Li Qing, who had not spoken much, suddenly spoke up, "So who is in his group?" Upon hearing these words, everyone immediately fell silent. 6 pairs of eyes shot towards Lin Shen, realizing that at least 2 people in a group meant at least 1 person must be with this guy. Min Jinjin and Xia Feilin rolled their eyes on the spot. The other 4 pursed their lips, lowered their heads, and no one spoke. Lin Shen tilted his head and said, "What does this mean? Am I something disgusting? Since the rules are here, everyone can only abide by them." Xia Feilin said, "Who would like to be with a medical miracle? Raise your hand." The words fell to the ground, and the private room was surprisingly quiet, as if one could hear the sound of the north wind blowing. Lin Shen was already accustomed to this scene, leaning against the back of the chair with a calm smile. He even began to predict that it would be time for the sister group to confront the program team and send him back alone to carry suitcases for his sisters. Only in this way can there be a program effect. Looking for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com is what makes him worthy of being a public ex-boyfriend. However, since everyone is embarrassed, then let the Linzi choose. Sheffield suddenly said. 5 beautiful women lost control of their expressions at the same time. Lin Shen also had an incredulous expression on his face, thinking he had heard the wrong thing. He didn't expect happiness to come so suddenly. "I choose." "Why, it's not something you're interested in." No. Lin Shen quickly waved his hand, thinking to himself that they were all passing guests of his brother. How could they not look up to him? Just looking up. My eyes flickered and hesitated for a moment. So difficult. Sheffield chuckled lightly and the conversation changed. Suddenly, as if jokingly serious, she said, "Then let's talk to me. Let's talk about the unfinished topics on the highway and delve deeper." The word "deep" is bitten very clearly. After speaking, she reached out and smoothed her long shawl hair, with an indescribable charm in her posture. Lin Shen's eyes flickered and he felt like he had been electrocuted. Among the 6 members of the sister group, except for Liang Yichuan who has shoulder-length short hair, the remaining 5 have long hair, and all have curly brown or chestnut hair. This is also the most common hair color among female celebrities in the entertainment industry today, fashionable, elegant, exquisite, and beautiful. However, as the fashion queen, Sheffield did not take an ordinary path. Her long black hair, which had been worn for many years, became one of her representative features. Other female celebrities wearing this hairstyle can't escape the word "dirt," but she is the only one who is beautiful and bold, making people unable to look at her anytime and anywhere. Faced with the queen's gaze, Lin Shen instinctively swallowed his saliva. Extend your palm and make a choice. I choose Ye Meng. 8. Lover. Friend. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, I choose Ye Meng. Upon hearing Lin Shen's answer, Sheffield couldn't help but be momentarily stunned, and then a seemingly ambiguous smile appeared on her face, unable to tell whether she was angry or happy. Very good at choosing. She said these 3 words calmly and then, as if nothing had happened, discussed grouping with the others. Lin Shen looked at her figure and felt inexplicably flustered in his heart. However, after a moment, he suddenly woke up. She's not my wife, am I feeling a little guilty? Thinking about this, he immediately felt relieved and disgust with Ye Meng, who still had a confused expression, before they walked out of the restaurant side by side. What he doesn't know is, behind them, 5 women who seemed to be seriously discussing their travel plans quietly caught a glimpse. There is nothing but a face full of unconsciousness. Faced with Lin Shen's sudden choice, Ye Meng was initially surprised, but her overall emotions did not fluctuate much. She quickly accepted this situation. In the afternoon, the 2 of them briefly strolled around the ancient city, ate some snacks, and bought some handicrafts. Passing by a local specialty dyeing workshop, Ye Meng was quite interested. The 2 of them went in and experienced a tie-dyeing technique, leaving their entire bodies covered in paint. But I had a great time playing. Throughout the afternoon, there was no awkwardness of being alone with their ex-boyfriend and girlfriend, and the overall atmosphere was relaxed, comfortable, and harmonious. This is also the reason why Lin Shen insisted on choosing Ye Meng in the face of oppression and suggestions from Queen Sheffield. After spending an afternoon alone, he has officially confirmed that Xiao Meng is still the same as before, leaving almost all her emotions for the character. He himself is still calm and carefree, like a colorless, tasteless, and formless warm water. Of course, just being easygoing in personality cannot be the reason why Lin Shen chose her. In terms of gentleness, Qin Shiyu is more severe than Ye Meng, and in terms of obedience, Li Qin is even more difficult to find for thousands of years. But due to his ex-girlfriend's identity, Lin Shen couldn't enjoy any tenderness when he was alone with them, and instead felt exhausted throughout the process. But Ye Meng couldn't, because it was her who proposed the breakup, and he agreed in a second. The 2 of them can be considered a perfect example of good gatherings and good separations. Even after breaking up, the 2 of them kept in touch, like each other on their social media, and vent their frustrations when things didn't go their way. Communication was actually closer than when they were in love. Let me put it this way, since not having a kidney transplant, both of them have been more distracted. Lin Shen also discovered from Ye Meng that some people are truly born to be friends, not lovers. After an afternoon of play, the 2 of them stepped on green bricks and faced the sunset, returning to the inn together. The cameraman was pleasantly surprised by the beauty of the picture, slowly stepping back and recording the entire process. As they approached the homestay, Ye Meng looked at the sunset and suddenly asked, "Stone, are you pretending to have amnesia?" The sudden question made Lin Shen instantly detach from the romantic scene of sunset, and his eyes became alert. "Do you also doubt me?" He didn't answer the rhetorical question. Ye Meng spread his hands together, indicating that this is not worth mentioning. "You chose to be with me this afternoon, instead of Fei Fei and Shiyu, because we had a peaceful breakup. Wouldn't it feel awkward to be with me?" Lin Shen frowned slightly, remained silent for a moment, and laughed. "There is a logical problem with what you said." "Oh. Where? Why do you think that staying together after a peaceful breakup won't be awkward?" After being asked, Ye Meng paused for a while before saying, "From a common sense, those who break up peacefully are always more harmonious than those who break up for other reasons, right?" Lin Shen smiled and said, from a common sense, after breaking up, we shouldn't meet again. How do we divide them? Ye Meng pouted, feeling unable to refute. You always have reason, she smiled, still without too much emotion. Lin Shen raised his eyebrows, grateful that he had escaped a bit. The two continued to move forward. Ye Meng continued to ask, so, have you really lost your memory? Lin Shen said, I didn't realize before, but now that I've heard you say that, it seems like this is indeed the case. Ye Meng asked, when did you know that all 6 of us have dated you? Lin Shen said truthfully, during lunch. This answer, contrary to Ye Meng's expectations, made a loud, ah. Lin Shen began to directly edit on site. I really didn't know anything about it before, and the production team didn't reveal anything. They just gave me a basic introduction of your situation, but this basic information does not include your love history. In the morning on the highway, I only found out that Sheffield and I had dated before. I didn't give up and took some time to check online, only to find out that it was really true. During lunch, while you were discussing your afternoon itinerary, I searched for everyone else's information. I don't know, I was startled when I searched. The first message that popped up after entering my name was related to me. I finally understood why everyone looked at me with strange eyes. Lin Shen spoke with a nose and eyes. Ye Meng was originally very convinced that he was pretending to have amnesia to escape the encirclement of his ex-girlfriends. Now listening to his description is really reasonable and reasonable. Looking back at lunch, he did not speak from beginning to end, staring at his phone and eating hard. Did he really lose his memory? Ye Meng is a bit confused. When Lin Shen saw her small expression, he knew that he had been fooled into limping again and quietly breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, he kept looking at his phone all afternoon. It was because his sisters were chatting passionately that he couldn't even get in the way. He decided to fulfill his duties as a tour guide and plan his itinerary for the next few days. Fortunately, I reacted quickly and didn't reveal anything. Lin Shen secretly felt fortunate. The two of them slowly returned to the inn, while the others had already returned and were sitting in the courtyard drinking tea and chatting. The courtyard is decorated with a very elegant atmosphere, with gray-brown wood and lush flowers and plants, giving it a feeling of a paradise. Seeing them both come back, the few people who were originally talking and laughing suddenly quieted down. How did you come back? We'll just wait for you to eat. Min Jinjin's tone became sour. As he spoke, his gaze noticed the dye on their bodies, and his eyes unconsciously turned cold when he looked for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. What did you do in the afternoon, get dressed up? She asked. Xia Feilin and others couldn't help but cast their eyes, each with complex expressions as if they were about to eat Lin Shen. At this moment, Lin Shen is quite content. Ye Meng beside him gave him confidence. This feeling is like being late for work. I was really anxious, but on the way, I ran into another late colleague, so I didn't worry at all. Sure enough, Ye Meng casually explained 2 sentences, and everyone felt embarrassed to continue asking. However, Lin Shen noticed that Qin Shiyu's face was noticeably darker. His heart trembled. After an afternoon of play, the lunch had already been thoroughly digested. After discussing, we decided to have dinner at the terrace restaurant on the 2nd floor of the homestay in the evening. Facing the gentle breeze and ancient town, backed by the green mountains and sunset, it's really pleasant. This proposal has received unanimous approval from everyone, and we will immediately go up to the 2nd floor terrace. Homestays are very quaint, and even the stairs are narrow wooden stairs that can only accommodate one person going up and down. Everyone went upstairs one by one. Qin Shiyu was the last girl to walk, and Lin Shen was the last one. Perhaps due to walking too much in the afternoon, Shiyu's feet were a bit sore. As soon as he stepped up the stairs, he uncontrollably twisted and almost fell. At a critical moment, Lin Shen reached out and grabbed her wrist, firmly supporting her. Warm heat transfer, signal overlap. Qin Shiyu was stunned for a moment, then quickly stood up straight and withdrew his hand. Continue upstairs. When everyone was admiring the sunset with fascination on the terrace, she dared to reach out and gently caress the wrist that Lin Shen had just touched. The fire in the sky is burning, and her face is also burning. 9. Betting again. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, the innkeeper brought the menu. Just like noon, under Min Jin's genuine petite plea, several sisters unanimously agreed to her principle of having fun when you come out to play, and ordered a lot of expensive and refined things. The other end was ordering dishes, while the other end, Lin Shen, was calculating under the table. The more he calculated, the more anxious he became. After lunch, A spent 115 yuan alone. This evening's meal seems to be over 100 again, and when we add in the afternoon's entertainment expenses, today's expenses are definitely over 1,000. Lin Shen felt a lot of pain in his flesh, but he couldn't show it in front of a group of women. He could only secretly regret it. He shouldn't have made that bet with Min Jin at noon, wasting 688 in vain. Amidst a heated debate, Min Jin suddenly suggested, "Why don't we have a bottle of red wine? Red wine is too expensive, we need to overspend." Ye Meng hesitated a bit. Min Jin excitedly said, "No, one bottle is only over 700 yuan, and when combined, it only costs over 100 yuan per person." Xia Feilin said, "Over 100, it's not expensive either." Liang Yichuan raised his hand in agreement and said, "Click on it. The scenery here is so beautiful, and today is so happy. Don't ruin the fun." Little cutie Li Qing originally wanted to support Ye Meng, but when she heard Liang Yichuan's words, her mouth closed again. Finally, the minority obeyed the majority, and the red wine was arranged accordingly. As for Lin Shen, he was never allowed to have voting rights at all. Lin Shen. Hee, that's great. Soon, the delicious food and wine were served on the table. At this moment, the sunset has already set, and the distant horizon is red with a rosy sunset. From afar, there is a panoramic view of the ancient city in front and continuous green mountains behind. The gentle breeze blew and the sunset filled the sky, making it very pleasant. Cheers, the tall cup lightly touches and makes a pleasant crisp sound. Everyone took a sip together, with a relaxed and satisfied expression on their faces. Given the pleasant scenery and good mood at the moment, Lin Shen rarely encountered any difficulties from his sisters or was ignored by everyone, and enjoyed this dinner very calmly. This made him feel that spending an extra 100 yuan was also worth it. Although the dinner was extremely sumptuous, this table was filled with female celebrities who relied on their faces and figures to eat. How could they really let go and eat? Just 1 or 2 bites of a dish would be enough. Quickly, everyone held their glasses and chatted while sipping, talking about the fun of this afternoon's play, laughing their heads up and down. At the dinner table, only 2 people remained silent throughout. One is when Lin Shen was eating, he was always indulging in it. There is also Li Qing, who is watching Lin Shen eat while swallowing saliva. After realizing it, Ye Meng carefully said, "Qing, are you not full? You should eat too." Li Qing was so scared that she quickly waved her hand and said, "I'm full, Sister Meng." "Are you really full?" "Really," Li Qing answered, but her gaze was still uncontrollable as she looked at Lin Shen, who was mixing vegetable soup with rice, and then swallowed her saliva. Sisters are all passers-by, instantly understanding and laughing. Ye Meng took chopsticks and put a beef patty into her bowl. "Look at this one you liked just now, have another one," she advised. Li Qing is still a bit hesitant. Xia Feilin directly opened the microphone and said, "You're only 22 years old and have a fast metabolism. It's okay to eat more. Besides, what's wrong with being overweight? Sister, I weigh 110 pounds, so there's still a market." "Oh. Xie Feilin's domineering speech immediately won the crazy likes of several others. Li Qin rarely showed a happy smile, no longer controlling herself, picked up the cake and ate it carefully. As Lin Shen watched her little rabbit eating vegetables, he couldn't help but think of the 2 months we spent together. She also ate slowly and chewed slowly like this, which was extremely cute. At that time, I was always deliberately playing tricks on her. One of them wolfed down everything on the table while she wasn't paying attention. Later on, Li Qin realized that she would look at him obediently and say, "I haven't eaten enough yet." Lin Shen was always amused by her natural cuteness, causing her to burst into laughter and eat below. Recalling the past, his eyes couldn't help but soften a bit, and he forgot to retract his gaze towards Li Qin. After Min Zhenjin noticed it, he couldn't help but feel jealous. "Lin Go, do you want to make a bet?" she suddenly said. Lin Shen regained his senses in a second. "What are you gambling on?" "Just bet on this meal." Lin Shen took a cold breath and said, "This meal costs 1,500 yuan. I have to overdraw even if it comes down. The door latch, are you trying to kill me?" Min Zhen laughed heartily and said, "Anyway, I have to overdraw. I don't mind spending all the money tomorrow and the day after. Anyway, you have a motorhome to sleep in. How about that? Do you dare to bet?" Everyone pursed their lips to watch the excitement. Lin Shen remained silent, but his heart was divided. Although the words of the main gate-bolt were intended to provoke him, they were not unreasonable. Today, they were also overspending. It's better to gamble again and seek wealth and prosperity in the face of danger. Thinking clearly, he lifted his head and his eyes became resolute. "What are you gambling on? How about drawing a fist?" Min Zhenjin suggested. "No way. You've become proficient in escape, and there's no way you want to deceive me." "Oh, it seems like you're quite following me." Min Zhenjin was overjoyed. Lin Shen rolled his eyes, too lazy to explain. He didn't pay attention to this crazy woman. It was because this guy rose to fame in the variety show industry, thanks to one episode of Escape where he knocked out all the male guests with his fists. More importantly, her martial arts skills were still learned on the show. This episode made her a godsend, and she was still a guest at the time. The next season, she was invited to become the main host. That video is still widely circulated on short video platforms as her famous scene material, and it's difficult for Lin Shen to know. "So, what are you betting on?" Min Zhen is really proud and rarely makes things difficult for him. Lin Shen had 10,000 ideas in his heart, but when he remembered his experience at noon, he swallowed them back to his mouth. "Let's just forget it. If I win later, you'll have to besiege me again. You'll have to win 3 games, 2 games, 5 games, 3 games with me." Speaking, he glanced at Sheffield. Sheffield's eyes narrowed and she stared straight back. Lin Shen quickly turned off the wheat. The scene is deadlocked. At this moment, Liang Yichuan smiled and said, "I have an idea. Today is the first day of our group trip, and the atmosphere is so good now. It's not interesting to gamble and gamble. How about this? Let Mumu sing a song for us. If you want to sing well, go to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com and we'll treat you to this dinner. If you don't sing well, we won't let you pay for everything. Just buy the real part. Is that okay?" Lin Shen's eyes lit up and he felt that the risk was quite low. The other sisters thought it over and all thought it was feasible. Of course, everyone's starting points are completely different. Min Zhen really agrees, completely believing that this gambling game is a win-win situation for himself. Based on her knowledge of this guy for over 20 years, although he is not at the level of incomplete 5 notes, he can't compete with his singing skills no matter what. One year at the New Year's Eve party, a director from a certain stage might have had a funny idea and even invited him. As a result, a simple love song was suddenly sung by him as a scene of a car accident, and even made it on the hot search list. It was laughed at by insiders for a long time. With such strength, Min Jinjin can hardly wait. Although others may not be as malicious as her, they all started to coax while trying to see a joke and purely finding it amusing. The atmosphere is so intense that it's impolite not to agree again. Lin Shen stood up slowly and leisurely. Coincidentally, at the staircase of the terrace, there is a music area with a ceiling where drums and guitars are played. It looks like there should be performances as well. However, it is currently the off-season in the scenic area, and these instruments have been put on hold, making them more like decorations. Lin Shen walked over directly, picked up the guitar placed against the wall, and carried it on his back. It's quite like that. Ye Meng smiled. In a moment, you will know what it means to see is empty, and to hear is true. Min Jinjin pursed her lips and smiled, wishing to skip the listening section and start mocking directly. Come on, Lin Tianwang. Hurry up and let us appreciate your amazing and ghostly voice. Do you call this not knowing how to sing? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, Lin Shen plucked the strings of the piano. With the sound of the guitar flowing down, a strange feeling swept through the whole body. In his past life, he actually came from an original singer background and also wrote several works. However, despite having talent, it is very limited. Far from the point where people can ignore their appearance and flock to pursue them. I couldn't afford this bowl of rice, so I switched careers and became an actor. Speaking of which, I have more talent than being a singer. I made a small comeback in my first film because of my excellent performance. However, in the end, he did not overcome the challenge of appearance, and despite 10 years of acting experience, he remained lukewarm and unpopular. Compared to now, it's a world of difference. In this lifetime, Lin Shen was actually a down-to-earth audiophile, but his appearance was excellent. During his debut years, he was rushed to choose from various male lead scripts and theme songs. This has contributed to many famous scenes. Oh, it's a dark scene. People give nicknames. Wooden Goddess, Peerless Song Death. With such a contrast, Lin Shen couldn't help but exclaim, indeed, beauty is justice. Just like now, when 6 ex-girlfriends gather together, they all know that his broken throat has nothing to look forward to. But watching him sit there with a low eyebrow and a light smile, wearing a simple plain T-shirt and dark green work pants, one foot on the foot pedal of a high chair, and the other foot standing straight on the ground. The sunset reflects and the gentle breeze blows. Just such a simple picture, yet so handsome that the 6 of them couldn't take their eyes off it, almost forgetting the harm he had caused them by stepping on end boats before. Everyone is watching quietly. Watching. Liang Yichuan was the first to notice something was wrong and said, "What a ghost. Shouldn't I ask you to sing instead of taking hard photos?" This reminder also awakened the other 5 people. That's right, just sing, why are you so handsome? If you can't sing, give up. Given your reputation as a peerless singer, we won't laugh at you. Jokes still have to be laughed at, but you can skip it for a while. Just laugh for half an hour. Min Jinjin said with a stern expression, once again affirming that he had the chance to win and saved money for today's dinner. At this moment, Lin Shen lifted his head and gave a faint smile. He certainly can't sing, he just hasn't figured out what to sing for a while. At this moment, I saw a blue wind chime hanging on the corner of the music ceiling, and when the light wind blew, it made a pleasant and crisp sound. I suddenly had an idea. But not in a hurry to sing, caressing the strings, Chong Min smiled brightly and sincerely. Min Jinjin received a dangerous message in 1 second. Eyebrow furrowed tightly. The last time I saw him smile like this was on the day when the college entrance examination ended 10 years ago, when he asked her for comfort on the grounds that he didn't do well in the exam. Then she comforted her from the restaurant where the class had dinner, and transferred the pain of failing the college entrance examination to the nearby hotel. Min Jinjin was naive at the time, but later realized that she had been deceived. How could this guy feel sad because he never cared about his grades? But let's not blame him for this. What is half pushing and half doing? It's just him pushing half, she's just half done. Thoughts detach from memories. In front of him, Lin Shen already smiled and said, "Do you want to increase the bet on the door latch?" Min Jinjin squinted his eyes and didn't speak. Finally, he concluded that his duck-like voice couldn't sing well, so he stiffened up. "Plus, what's the bet? You're so bold, then just bet on tomorrow's funding." "Okay, just bet." Min Jinjin readily agreed. Ye Meng originally wanted to persuade her to think twice, but she confidently waved her hand, indicating that she was confident in winning. The other sisters didn't advise anymore. Lin Shen raised his eyebrows and smiled happily. It's a great honor to be able to participate in Flower with all the beautiful sisters and sisters. Today is the first day of our departure. Although it's a little unpleasant, it's still very harmonious on the whole. Lin Shen smiled and said, "I'm giving you a song called Travel. I hope we can have a wonderful journey together in the days to come." As the words fell, he stopped playing tricks and gently swept his fingers on the strings. The prelude was pleasant, but the sisters were all stunned. Sheffield asked, "Does he really know how to play the guitar? When did he learn?" Everyone shook their heads. Ye Meng asked, "What song is Travel? Why don't I remember it?" Liang Yichuan was puzzled and said, "I remember there were two different versions of Travel, but neither of them had this melody." Although Liang Yichuan comes from Xiangjiang, as the only professional singer on site, her speech still has credibility. Because of this, several sisters were even more confused. Of course, at this point in the discussion, everyone has not dared to rely solely on a prelude to make this Travel original. After all, a minute ago, Lin Shen was still a deaf-mute in everyone's eyes. Even if he took a blue pill, it would take time to support himself, right? The puzzle was unsolved for a moment, and everyone was too lazy to delve deeper, focusing on the smooth and relaxed melody. About 20 seconds later, Lin Shen approached the microphone and began singing. The evening breeze blew the pine waves, the sound of this wind chimes like a heavenly melody. The first line of the song came out, and Sheffield and the six of them were stunned. Around the dining table, the diligent cameras, directors, and other staff members were also stunned. Lin Shen's voice, although not as clear and transparent as most singers, is at least accurate. But I don't know if he deliberately lowered his voice. His voice was different from when he spoke, with a hint of hoarse, but at the same time, his emotions were calm, like an experienced middle-aged man whispering to the distant green mountains. Full score on the screen. Full score for singing skills. Full score for melody. In an instant, everyone on the terrace was grabbing their ears, even eagerly waiting for him to sing on. Standing in the silence of this city, let everything go away from the hustle and bustle. Only the green mountains are hidden among the white clouds. Butterflies freely traverse the clear stream. Look at the sunset blooming in the sky. There is a group of birds heading west. Who drew this world? Draw me and you again. Make our world colorful and colorful. Who makes us cry? Surprise us again. Let's fall in love and meet like this. Always saying goodbye, gathering and separating, always walking on a long road. A high mood suddenly landed. Zhaozuiyuan.com. Lin Shen swept his fingers and neatly finished the melody, covering the last tremor of the strings with his palm. He stood up and gently bowed in gratitude. Looking up again, the six beautiful women were stunned by the complete loss of facial expression management. Looking further away, all the staff on site were shocked as if they had witnessed a deity descending to earth with their own eyes. The entire terrace, except for the leisurely and crisp wind chimes, had no other sound. Lin Shen's cheeks twitched. Did I drive too much at once? There is no need to regret it. Since they have been in the entertainment industry for 2 lifetimes, now that the two have merged into one, it is natural for them to make a name for themselves in the circle. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a waste of all the artistic treasures from Earth? The character design of that embroidered pillow will eventually collapse. Since that's the case, it's better to die early than to die late. Although it may be a bit difficult to accept at first, it will only become more and more comfortable later on. Now, Lin Shen is ready and waiting for the trial of his sisters. However, after waiting for a long time, the 6 swaying beauties didn't even speak, their faces filled with astonishment that could not be shaken away. At this moment, the minds of the sisters are surprisingly unified. Do you call this not knowing how to sing?